Today we will begin learning lesson 3.4 on slope-intercept form. Our goals today are going to be identifying the slope and y-intercept of an equation written in y equals mx plus b. Okay, that is our major focus today. Okay, we will also be writing equations in slope-intercept form, okay, when we're given needed information. So slope-intercept form is an equation form for a non-proportional linear equation. And what that means is these graphs, when it says non-proportional, these graphs do not go through the origin. Okay, that's the difference between slope-intercept form and direct variation. Do not go through origin. And since they don't go through that 0, 0, okay, our slope is still the same, but now we have an extra number at the end of that equation, and we represent that with the letter B. And that B stands for our y-intercept. Okay, when you go through 0, 0, your y-intercept is 0. Okay, and what a y-intercept is the y-coordinate of the point on the y-axis at which a non-proportional linear equation crosses that y-axis. And remember, when you have a coordinate plane, okay, this vertical number line, okay, this one right here, is our y-axis. Okay, so we have an equation graphed on it. Okay, the point where it crosses that y-axis is our y-intercept. That's our letter B. Okay, like I was saying for the origin, it's 0, 0. And if I were to add 0 to any equation, it wouldn't be there anymore. That's where the direct variation comes in. Okay, but when we're non-proportional, they're not going through that point, so we have to be able to identify that point. And that's why we're adding that y-intercept onto our equation. So let's take out your flip book for slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Okay, just like for direct variation, your y is still your output value. Okay, and just like before, it always stays y. Remember, you can write this information right on the sheet that has the y or on the back of y. Okay, it always stays y. It does not become a number. Okay, whereas the slope, and I want to make sure this part's on the front, becomes a number. Okay, it is no longer the letter m. Anytime we're in an equation, that m is replaced by a number. And remember that m, still like before, always represents your slope. Okay, and on direct variation, we had a bunch of ways we could find slope. Today, one of those goes away. Okay, since these are not proportional, since they're non-proportional, that y over x will not work. Okay, this is not an option. Okay, we cannot do that. So for these equations, the only ways we can find slope is rise over run. Okay, remember that's easiest from a table, from a graph or from a picture. If you have a table, you want to use change in y over your change in x. And if you're given ordered pairs, remember it's y minus y over x minus x. Remember then too that this is one ordered pair and this is one ordered pair. Okay, so now we're back down to just those 3 ways to find slope because these are non-proportional, so this method does not work. Okay, x, just like before, is still our input value. Okay, it is again going to stay x. whenever we write those equations, the y stays y and the x stays x. Okay? And the b is now the new part. This b is your y-intercept. And again, what that means is it's the point on that y-axis, okay, where it crosses. Y-axis. And this right here is B. Okay, what it looks like for an ordered pair is 0 because we're not moving left or right, and then a number. Your example on that page, or on that flip book, okay? If you look at that back example, it has a graph that looks like this. Now, we need to be able to identify two things to write a direct or a slope-intercept form equation. We need to know M, and we need to know B. Okay, remember M is your slope, B is your y-intercept. And if we have those two things, we can write a slope-intercept form equation. So on this one, I'm going to use rise over run to find my slope, right? Because they're giving me a graph, that works easy enough. So I'm going to have a point here, and I have a point here, right? So my rise, 1, 2, and we went up 2, and my run is over 1. So my slope is 2 over 1, and the 2 is positive because we went up, and 2 over 1 simplifies to 2. Okay, my y-intercept is that point where it crosses that y-axis. If I look, I already have a dot on that point. It's this one right here. Okay, so on that graph, my b, since this is on the y-axis, is at -1, -2, -3. So since I have that, I'm ready to just substitute into that equation. Remember that equation is y equals mx plus b. We need to fill in for m, and we need to fill in for b. Y and x stay the same. So we have y equals m, which we found to be 2, x stays, plus b, which we found to be -3. Okay, and I put that in parentheses again to show it's negative. But remember, whenever we write equations or problems in math, we never want to write double signs. So I need to simplify this to y equals 2x minus 3. Okay, so that m has a value of 2, and that b is the -3. So now let's look at some equations, and let's just identify that slope and that y-intercept. And we can label these with m and b. So remember, our form is y equals mx plus b. We are looking for m, which is our slope. Okay, m is our slope. And we are looking for b, okay, which is our y-intercept. Alright. So in this first equation, my number with x is -5. And my b term is 3. So I would say m equals -5 and b equals 3. And since it's a positive 3, I can just write 3. The second one, to your right, is a little more complicated. Okay, in front of that x, we just have a negative sign. Okay, and what that really represents is a -1. Okay, remember, we don't write that 1 there. But whenever there's a negative sign, just by itself with a variable, it's a -1. Okay? Our b term's again positive, so b equals 5. Okay? Bottom 2, number with x, that coefficient, our m is 1/4. Notice it's written as a fraction still in this form. Okay, we don't want our slopes to be decimals or mixed numbers. Okay? And this time, our b, if I look at this, is a -6 which is representing a negative 6. And the last one, coefficient is 2/3. Subtracting 4, so our m is 2/3, and our b, our y-intercept, is negative 4. So let's try some where we're actually writing the equation. Okay, so this time they want us to write it in that slope-intercept form, given the slope and given the y-intercept. Remember, slope is the m, and the y-intercept is b. Okay, so we always have y stay y, m is our slope, so m is 8, x stays x, plus b, but since b is negative, it's really a minus 5. Okay, whatever the sign of your y-intercept is the number we plug in for that b. And if it's negative, it's minus. Okay, second one, m is here, here's b, so y equals 2/3 x minus 2. Down here, m is negative 3, slope. Our b is our y-intercept is 7, so we have y equals negative 3x plus 7. And the last one, slope m is negative 5/2. Again, notice it's still that improper fraction. Okay, our b, our y-intercept is 9, so we have y equals negative 5/2x plus 9. And that's writing those equations in slope-intercept form.